cool. I don't know what I'm saying. G'day, my name's Walters. G'day, my name's Steve Walters. In today's episode we're going to be showing you how we strain barbed wire. There's plenty of ways to do it, but this is what we do and it works well for us, so we're going to share that with you today. Let's jump straight into it.
Alright, so now we're going to strain up our 4-barb fence. I'll show you the 3 different ways.
Right, before we get into it and Max actually goes through the how-to, there's a couple of points I want to mention. We use the bottom barb as a sight wire. So in this video, the bottom barb is already strained and lined out. The rest of the wires, we try to strain at the same time if possible. It's just more economical. In this video, you'll see there's a 2-hole plate that we capture the wire with. So we use that when we're running past a corner. We pre-drill, or we pre-mark and pre-drill those so they're ready to go once we've strained the wires. And you'll also notice in this clip there's a double stay on the strainer. Normally we don't do that, and you can see the stay in the back is a single stay, but because it's a laneway, the client asked us to put a double stay in this instance. And now back to the video.
There's a lot of different ways to do it. The first way is how I like to do it. I like to put the strainers below where you're going to tie it or screw it off, and then I'll go from there. So I go around the post, obviously on that side, not this side. You go from this side, you tend to pull on the wrong side of the post. So I go this way. Grab your handle. I like to run my finger along so I keep the chain straight. Kind of put it in the V of the chain. So then I put the chain and the strainers together. As I said, like, there's a few different ways to do it, but then I put the wire over and the handle through my legs, and I kind of pull on that with my legs, and then I pull against this barb, put it in the strainers. The boys here like to do it differently, like to put the chain on, the wire on the strainers first, then onto the chain. I'll do that one next. And then we'll basically just do it up. When we put all 3 on and all strained up, we're going to send Dave down to probably the middle of the line, flick all the wires out of the grass. We'll probably tighten up a bit more, and it just gives us a good idea of how tight to do it with our, I guess you can call it our plunger, but he'll also tell us if it's good when he's down there. So that's how I do it. So my mate Clancy, he does it this way. He does it a little bit different. So I like to put my chain below where I'm going to be screwing it. He likes to put his chain above, so he'll put his chain here. So same way as before, around that side of the post, but just above. Then he runs his chain out, thumb on again, holding it straight, and he drops it. So the chain doesn't roll, it just sits there, so we know when we put our strainers on, we're on the right track. And then he'll put his handle a little bit further along than the chain onto his wire, and he'll pull it a little bit, get that first little slack bit out, get most of your chain, grab his chain where he left it, put the chain on, and then rolls it over here, wire under the handle, so when you go and screw it off it's already there, and then he does it up.
How tight do you go?
I kind of just gauge off my plungers, and when we flick it we'll have another look again. So that's pretty flush there. Because we're in a lot of grass and whatnot, if I can get a few more without breaking it, I will, because they'll only loosen up when we flick them. Now if you don't run your finger along the chain when you're running it out, it can end up something like that. Yep. Which means when you track up with your handle, you'll get a big twist in your chain, and so yeah, straight chain. I always like to look in here. See how we're squishing 2 wires together, not grabbing 2 wires of the twist? Hey, they can break, but I always like to put it like this. Always like to squish onto 2. It's not quite it. As it tightens up, it'll squish into 2.
So we had some technical difficulties and we lost sound for the next part of the clip. So you can see Dave here is flicking the wire, and that allows it to get out of the grass and even the tension on the wire. So you can see here that when Dave flicks the wire, the tension indicators release and add more strain if we need to. So what we do is we bounce the bottom wire in first and then the next wire up until the last wire is going to be the top wire. That way we don't tangle the wires as we're flicking them and moving them into position.
So because we're only like a third into the line, this is one of the 2 corners in this line. We're just going to fly by it, screw it off, not tie it. When we get to the end, then we'll tie it off. Righto, so basically do everything in reverse. We'll start at the top because it's the easiest. I run my chains underneath only because it's easier when you're doing it. But what you really should do is run your chain over the top there, which then when you release, it'll auto feed back onto itself. I'll show you what you do when it goes underneath like I do it. It's basically the same, but you just got to guide it. So I basically just grab that, pull that in. At the end of the day, it ends up the same. Basically just guide it. Take it off. Take that one off. And then this one. I just twisted that then to get it away from the stay. Looks and feels good. I am ready to keep going, David!
Oh, no, don't! Next trainer!
Is that hard to watch?